because
Yes,
I
sir.
promise you, students who have been shot by assault rifles or semi-automatic weaponry, they would disagree with you, or the parents
Don't
and
play that
teachers
game with me. That's
who
a
have
that's a
disagreed. Ain't
very
nobody
low
playing a
low
damn
ball
game
game.
with you. First of all, I
Ooh.
don't play games. I'm
That's a low
serious
ball game
about
to
what I
play,
say and
though.
what I do.
It's the you don't care
Nobody's
about
playing a
human
game
life
with you,
because
sir.
I'm not on the same
No, do
page
you
as you on
understand
this
that?
story.
Do you understand? Nobody's playing with you.
Thank you for watching Power to the Pod, where we are committed to an intellectual integrity and a moral honesty. I'm your host, Superior, and once again, thank you for watching. Now, in this video, yes, we're going to have the same sexy conversation because America just can't get enough of gun violence. So, of course, we're going to talk about gun control. And in this video, we're going to watch a really interesting debate because, I mean, it just feels like old boy just keeps coming back to Dr. Richy for more. Every time you step up in that ring, step up into the bullpen, you're going to get the horns. When you step into the bullpen, you going to get the horns. Hands down like 630, you feel me? So, once again, the Walking Dead actor, he doesn't state his name, but okay, you'll figure it out once you see him. But he is back for more, talking about gun control and gun safety. Let's go ahead and watch the video and let's have that conversation.
He's back. Actor extraordinaire.
He's
Mr.
back.
Elon Sulovich is on the program.
Elon Sulovich.
Again today. Dear sir, good to have you back on the show. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you doing?
Doing quite well. Today we're going to chop it up about gun rights, the right to bear arms, things like that. Maybe even get into some constitutional carry dynamics because the state of Florida is very close to signing a constitutional carry bill that would make the majority of states
The
constitutional
dumbest thing,
carry states. We'll get into
the
that
dumbest thing ever.
during the show. I don't want to presume what you know, believe about the right to bear arms. So if you would, give us your sentiment and I would then opine.
Well, I'm a supporter of the Second Amendment, but beyond that, I feel like the United States has an illegal gun circulation problem. It's unfortunate. So part of the way to
It's unfortunate.
protect yourself is obviously having a firearm. There's a lot of data to support it. The University of Pittsburgh found that 80% of gun crime was illegally obtained firearms. So obviously it's coming from illegal firearms. University of Chicago found that only 3% of gun crimes were committed with guns bought in a store. According to the 2021 National Firearms Survey, they estimated that guns are used in defensive incidents over 1.6 million times per year. And CPRC found that armed citizens stopped at least 34% of active shooters. So there's a lot of data to support the necessity, unfortunately, in our country of legal gun ownership.
Yeah, so I support the Second Amendment as well in its proper format and context. I am a supporter also of common sense statutory dynamics. Let me ask you a question.
Both can work at the
This
same
new
time.
thing called constitutional carry really has swept conservative states like a rocket. Now you have the state of Florida about to pass possibly a constitutional carry law as well. For the viewers, constitutional carry simply means you do not need a prerequisite to carry a firearm. No license, no permit, etc. It is a constitutional right, and because it is a constitutional right, there's no requirement for a registration, permit, etc. And that is the doctrine or the logic behind it. Do you agree with the ideology of constitutional carry?
Well, I don't think that it makes any measurable difference in the number of homicides at the end of the year. So I don't think
when
that
you say measurable difference,
yes,
what does measurable difference mean?
it means I truly don't believe more people will die at the end of the year, whether we have constitutional carry or you have to go get a permit for it.
Gotcha.
Again, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm glad you have a belief, but I'm talking about your actual opinion on the law of constitutional carry. Are you?
Come on now.
I support constitutional carry, yeah. I support background checks also for buying a firearm. But once you have a background check, the truth is if you're going to go get a background check, buy a firearm, and your plan is to hurt people with it, and you want to carry it around, and you're a criminal because you're actively willing to kill people with it, whether you have the right to legally carry that or not, you're going to carry it. So it's the purchasing of the gun that would be the initial problem, not whether you're concealing it and legally allowed to conceal it.
Okay, so let me interject here. Okay. I don't like how he used the term, there's no measurable way to, figure out if X, Y, and Z will prevent A, B, and C, or A, B, and C prevents X, Y, and Z. If it's not measurable, because you can't really tell the future. You can't be like, oh, if AR-15s weren't accessible to just, regular random citizens, this will prevent this many people from dying. There's no way to measure that. I get it. But just because you can't measure it doesn't mean that it doesn't feel like you feel it all up in here. All up in here, it doesn't feel like it's something that should still be legal, something that still can be obtained. Like, you can't prevent people from dying with firearms, but if a person is in a shop and they have a choice between a pistol, okay, that, holds about, 9, 18, whatever the case is. I'm not a gun fanatic, but, a handful, 16, I think. And then they have an option of an AR-15 with a red dot and an extended mag, that can hold what, 32, maybe 36, I don't know. What do you think they're going to choose if their sole purpose is to kill as many people as possible? They're not going to a school just to kill the one teacher. They're not going to a club just to kill the one person. If they are, then, that person probably done something really wrong. But if these mass shootings, if their goal is just to kill as many people as possible, they got two choices. I think my chances are a lot higher if they have a pistol to work with compared to an AR-15. Once again, I'm not a gun fanatic, but just looking at basic information here. I play Call of Duty. I know the difference between a pistol and an AR-15. It's obvious. So, of course, we can't measure, we can't tell the future, but we can kind of prevent it if we just kind of do some basic thinking. Why? You an actor? Can you at least act like you got some common sense? Can you act like you know some things? Or you acting dumb? Which one of the two? Come on.
Or not.
Okay, so I'm going to get back to that in just a moment. Under the constitutional carry law enforcement, they are barred. They are prohibited from asking anyone if they are lawfully in possession of a firearm. Constitutional carry makes it illegal for an officer to say, hey, can I see a permit for that firearm? Or, hey, do you legally have the right to possess that firearm? It makes it illegal for an officer to engage based on them seeing somebody with a gun, number one. Number two,
that's not true. Not seeing someone with a gun. In other words, they can't make an assumption that you are committing a crime just based on the fact that you may not have a firearm. There's no reason why a police officer should assume you have a firearm and then ask you if it's legal.
Right. I'm submitting to you the absolute truth of the statute. It prohibits, it bars, it makes illegal an officer asking a person, do you have a permit? Are you in lawful possession of the firearm? You can check out my facts statutorily.
You're not understanding what I'm saying. That's because firearms are legally allowed to be carried. So there's no assumption that you're committing a crime. A criminal who's carrying a firearm will conceal it to commit that crime. So the cop would not see it. If you're openly showing your firearm. Sorry, go ahead.
What I've said to you is not contrary to a fact. I'm just telling you what the law says.
Sure.
The law says officers cannot. It doesn't say possibly won't. It says they cannot ask this information of you, period, if they see you with a firearm. So let me move on to the constitutional dynamic of constitutional carry. I get it. It is the right to bear arms being protected. Remember, the Constitution does not give you rights. It simply protects the rights that you have. That is the sentiment of the Constitution. Mm-hmm. So if you believe that there should not be a prerequisite, there should not be a permitting process in order for you to have a gun, all right?
That's crazy.
Because you believe that it is a right, correct? Let me ask you this question. Do you believe voting is a right?
But I just said I believe there should be background checks.
No, I'm not talking about background
Come
checks.
on, man, listen. Come on now.
I'm asking, do you believe voting is a right?
Sure, you should show an ID, just like you should show an ID to buy a firearm.
You got to do more than just show an ID.
Should you show an ID in states that are constitutional carry?
To buy a firearm, yes, you should still be obligated to show an ID and have a background check.
Why do they not do that?
They do. Good luck buying a gun without a background check. I've bought guns in numerous states, every single state. In fact, there was a study done, and I will personally send it to you because I know you're going to ask me where it came from. And they sent out agents to actually see if firearms could be purchased without a background check at gun shows where they're not required. No one was willing to sell a firearm at those. And less than 1% of gun crimes, like guns bought for gun crimes, are purchased.
So let's do this. Let me go ahead and let me do the numbers for you. So in the state of Georgia, 38%, and this is from the Sheriff's Association for the state because they keep track with these things. 38% of guns that were sold in the state of Georgia was sold by way of no background check because it was a private gun-to-gun sale. Private gun owners sold to a private purchaser. 38%, damn near 40% of all the guns that were purchased in the state of Georgia did not require a background check. I do find your point of view interesting because I actually agree with it. I agree that universal background checks should be a norm. I agree with that. I also agree that the law is hypocritical when it comes to constitutional carry. If you're saying that you don't need a permit, you don't need to go to a licensing department in order to have a firearm because the right to bear arms is constitutionally protected, well, your right to vote is constitutionally protected, but you do have to register. You still have to present an ID or some other form of identification.
No,
there is a process to engage. My point is the laws are contradictory. Even if you believe in the universal background check like I do, you have to admit that the laws contradict on this matter as it relates to constitutionality.
No, because you're comparing a voting registry to a gun registry, which are two vastly different things.
No, that's not a gun registry, sir. As a matter of fact, most Americans are in favor.
We're in agreement. You should show your license and you should do a background check. And that's fine. If your whole argument is that there should be background checks when you purchase a firearm to make sure that you aren't admitted to a hospital ever for any severe mental illness and that you haven't committed a crime, we're on the same page. Yeah, 100%.
Well, and I think we're about 90% there. So I probably take it a step further. Let me tell you where I take it at.
So hold on.
If you want to pass law,
it's just crazy to me. Just about every adult thing that you do as an adult, you have to go through a scrutiny amount of hurdles, background checks out the wazoo. Okay, to get a house, to get a car, to get a pet. Jesus Christ, to even get a pet. You know what I'm saying? You can't just walk up in this and just no. It's so many things as an adult to get a job, to get a loan. Anything requires a scrutiny amount of checks just to make sure they're giving whatever that you're trying to purchase is a responsible person. But for some reason, we feel that this is the crazy thing. We feel that giving a gun, something that is made to kill, not like, oh, you could kill somebody with a pencil like John Wick. Like, okay, pencils are not made to kill. You can use it to kill, but guns are designed to kill. And we feel like, oh, just show your ID. Just show an ID and boom, boom, you walking out with twin AK-47s. No. It's harder to buy a gun on Call of Duty than it is in the real life for some reason. I got the money. I could go to the store right now and probably get me an AK-47 in some way, shape, or form, some sort of model in a couple of days. I guarantee it. I got good credit. I got the money. I got a clean background. But if I wanted to get a car, or let alone get a house, oh man, I gotta pay this. I gotta make sure my credit is above this. I gotta pay this. Then I gotta have 2-3 mediators in between talking about this and this. But to get a gun, to own a gun is easier than it is to get a job. Ain't that something? Ain't that weird? Only here in America, huh? Only here in America, it's easier to get a gun than it is to get a job. Man, people are just so weird, man. Like, I don't know. But I don't have a suit and tie. I wear a do-rag and got tattoos. Who am I? You know what I'm saying? What sense am I making? Man.
Laws that say constitutional carry, because this is a right You don't need to present anything to exercise this right. But in order to exercise the right to vote, you must present A, B, and C to exercise that right. I think there's a hypocrisy in the way we look at both of these constitutionally protected rights. So that's my submission. Let me go to some of the numbers from the NRA. According to the public policy polling survey, 83% of gun owners, they support expanded background checks on the sale of all firearms. 72% of NRA members support the same. So you're in good company, dear brother. Most people who own guns, most people who are members of the NRA agree with you and I. Also, a poll by the University of Chicago, Harris School of Public Policy, it shows that 71% of Americans say that all gun laws should actually be stricter. You also have another poll that shows 88% of everyday Americans believe that we should have a universal background check on all gun purchases. My question to you is this. If the majority of gun owners believe it, if the majority of NRA, paying NRA members believe it,
let them know.
And the majority of Americans believe it, both black, white, brown, male, female, Democrat, Republican, Independent, tell me why this is not a uniform policy in the United States of America. Because the only entity who doesn't want it are gun manufacturers. Those are the only entities who do not want this, even though everybody else does. Help me understand why.
Well, again, I mean, I've never been able to purchase a firearm without a background check. So if
well,
you're
that's
saying,
you, sir. That is not the statistical reality for people all across the country. My question is, why not uniform the policy if everybody says it's a good policy, including you?
Answer.
I'm not a policymaker. I mean, I don't answer questions for why people do or don't do things. What I do know is, even within that, I think that the entire debate gets very convoluted because the vast majority of firearms, again, are illegally obtained handguns. That's what's being used to, unfortunately, kill the vast majority of people in our country. When you look at,
I'm going to answer it before him because right now they're about to get into a deeper conversation here. But the answer is because of the money. Because of the money. That's it. These gun manufacturers, these politicians, these lobbyists don't care about polls. They don't care if 99.9999999% of Americans want stricter. The most strictest of the strict laws to get a gun, they don't care about that. All they care is about their pockets, the bag, the cheese, the guap, whatever you want to call it. That's all they care about. That's why it must not take a lot to be an actor. You could be dumb as a bag of bricks and you can just be an actor on The Walking Dead, I guess. Because come on, no common sense whatsoever.
Homicides. And no one's actually looking at the solution for that. We keep debating over things that wouldn't necessarily measurably reduce homicide at the end of the year when we all agree that illegal firearms are terrible. And we should tackle that as a full solution first.
Let's talk about
we can move on to. I don't know why there's not universal background check.
Well,
come on,
it's not
break it down.
A universal background check statute because the gun manufacturers oppose it. So it doesn't matter that the majority of Americans are for it, the majority of gun owners are for it, the majority of NRA members are for it. As long as the gun manufacturers are against it, it won't get passed because of special interests. I hope that helps you understand the why. So let's go back to what you said about illegal guns. What makes a gun illegal?
This is a good point.
Well, if it gets stolen, or you're right, if it gets essentially passed along into.
You see how he said if a gun gets stolen, or I said a little too much. Right? If he was being honest and genuine and just really trying to have a conversation to maybe teach and learn some things, he would have said exactly what Dr. Richy is about to say. Because there's more than one way for a gun to be deemed illegal. And he didn't want to say it. He stopped. He was like, ooh, I almost messed up my whole career off these few words. And he stopped himself.
Funnel of being an illegal firearm, primarily being stolen.
Did the gun start as an illegal firearm?
Yeah, but that's irrelevant. We have hundreds of millions of illegal firearms in the country. So to start
I'm going somewhere. I'm making a point, dear sir. Because what makes it illegal is a transaction that happened at some point in the journey of that firearm, correct? Because it started as a legal
primarily firearm. Being stolen. Yeah, primarily being stolen.
Right.
That's the vast majority.
But we agree If it's a stolen firearm or classified as illegal, all firearms basically started as a legal manufactured firearm in the United States of America, correct?
Yeah, but again, that's somewhat irrelevant to the point I was making, which is that the guns are obtained illegally.
It's relevant to the point I'm making, dear sir.
Sure. Okay, so what's the point?
Okay, so my point is this. You have more guns than people in the United States of America.
Which is weird. Okay.
The United States of America has the highest per capita homicide rate. We are one of the absolute most crime-ridden places on the planet Earth as it relates to gun violence.
In the first world.
Mass shootings. We have more mass shootings than any other developed nation, except for 1 year. That was one caveat. But every other year for the last 30 years, it's been us. It's been America. We don't have
number
the most
one
in population.
Hey, we number one,
We're not
baby.
The most violent on television. As a matter of fact, there are other countries that have more.
Hey, one thing I gotta say, when it comes to America, I gotta give you this. In every statistic, good or bad or ugly, we gotta be number one, baby. This is America. I don't care if we number one in economics or number one in mass murders. We gonna be number one because that's America. That's America right there, baby. We don't settle for second for nothing. We ain't gonna be second to none, to nobody. In all stats of possible, we want to be number one. That's the way we do it,
violent
baby.
Content that we do. But we are number one. We're number one in gun violence. And I submit to you, we're number one in gun violence because of the access to guns and our infatuation with gun culture in the United States of America. So when you talk about illegal guns, understand that every single illegal gun started as a legal gun in the United States of America. My point is, if we limit access to guns, if we limit access to weaponry, remember, all weapons, all categories of weapons started legal. Do you not believe it would limit or decrease some of the carnage we see through gun violence in America?
Now, this is a simple question. I don't care if you're on the opposing side of debates. Sometimes it's just better to be honest and just answer a question straight up. Be like, you know what? This kind of goes against my beliefs or my point of view. But to answer your question, yes, it would, because mathematically on paper, it's obvious if you restrict the amount of guns that is being sold, that means you restrict the amount of guns that can be stolen or illegally sold. It's really simple. That's not hard. You don't have to agree with that. You don't have to be like, oh, well, that's what has to happen. But just answer the question. Come on.
I sadly don't, because from 1993 to 2018, the homicide rate dropped by 49%, according to Pew Poll research. According to the FBI, dropped by 40%. And in that time, gun ownership went up tremendously in that time, legal gun ownership. And even within that, a lot of the laws that people are trying to pass were actually around back then.
He ready.
Like the assault weapon ban ended in 2004.
You brought up the assault weapon ban, dear sir. That proves my point. During the assault weapon ban, guess what went down? Murders related to assault weapons. You know that,
and
right?
Homicide went up. It dropped after the ban. From 2004.
When the ban was in place, you had a sharp, significant statistical decrease in the number of crimes committed using that kind of weapon.
Come on.
But overall homicide from 2014
He's not talking about
to
overall,
2018,
bro.
forget 1993.
He's trying to let you know, when they restricted this sort of weapon, when they put a ban on that, you can see statistically. He said so many words to explain that. Statistically speaking, murders with that weapon went down. Why did it go down? Because they put a ban on that weapon. You see, cause and effect. That's how that thing works. But he's like, no, but all, like, bruh, we're talking about guns, control, and specifically AR-15s and guns of that similar build. Come on now.
Just from that ban, dropped 20%. In other words, statistically speaking, since the ban of assault weapons ended, we had a 20% reduction in homicide. If assault weapons were such a threat to, let me just finish this one point. If assault weapons were such a threat to society, if they were such a threat to society, we would have seen a spike in overall homicide. Assault weapons are used in less than 1%. All rifles are used in less than 3% of homicide. So assault weapons are extremely low on the.
Let's go back, man, because
Yes,
I promise you, students who have been shot by assault rifles or semi-automatic weaponry, they would disagree with you, or the parents
Don't
and
play that
teachers
game with me. That's
who
a
have
that's a very
ain't nobody
low,
playing a
low
damn
ball
game with you. First of all, I don't play games. I'm
That's a low
serious
ball
about
game to
what I
play,
say
though.
and what I do.
It's the you don't
Nobody's
care
playing
about
a
human
game
life
with you,
because
sir.
I'm not on the same
No, do
page
you
as you on
understand
this
that?
argument.
Do you understand? Nobody's playing with you.
Ain't nobody playing
that,
with
right?
You don't care. It's the same tactic used anytime people debate about gun control. It's my biggest pet.
Hey, don't get him started. Don't mess with the bull, or you gonna get the horns. Woo. He say ain't nobody playing no games with you, homie. This ain't no game. What you talking? This ain't no game, player. Yeah, woo. Hey, Dr. Richy about to jump out that square and grab him and cut the camera off because this is a family show. We can't be showing that. But Dr. Richy was about to get in that. You know what I'm saying? They in his ear right now like, hey, doctor, calm down, man, because you going to say some things that's going to get us demonetized. I need you to simmer on down just a little bit. Woo, this ain't no game, player.
Because it shuts down the debate and it tries to paint the people who disagree with you.
I'm not shutting down the damn thing.
I equally care about human life the same amount as you.
Sir, I'm 10 toes down. I'm right here. The debate is ongoing. My point to you is when there was a ban on assault weapons, as it relates to crimes, went down in America. There's a direct correlation. It's called cause and effect. How you don't see that, I don't quite understand. But I appreciate you being on the program.
He said, whoa. Dr. Richy, the champ. Dr. Richy, baby. He said, I'm 10 toes deep. And I'm holding firm. Come on now. Now, one reason why Dr. Richy brought up that remark, which obviously triggered him, is because these conversations is not, we're not trying to have these conversations just to have these conversations. We're not just so bored to where we just want to, talk about gun control and just kind of restrict people of their guns. Just because everything in America is going so perfectly, we're just so bored that we want to take away certain kind of guns and make it a little bit more difficult to purchase a gun. No, people are actually dying, minding their business. It's not like these kids are in some sort of, drug cartel and, they're running around, in some sort of games. Like, these kids are minding their business, worried about Pokemon and Barbie. That's all they worried about. But I hate it when people don't want to be like, you know what? We got an issue. We need to do something. It may not be perfect. It may not be the 100% solution to these mass murders, especially when it comes to kids, because kids just don't sit at schools. Kids are everywhere. You know what I'm saying? So I hate when people say these soft zones. Soft zones are everywhere. What are we going to have, like police and military everywhere? No. We need people to act and not like this actor just act like they care. We need people with some actual feet. Because like I say, it's not going to be perfect. And here's some examples. Of course, background check. I mean, obviously. Send written requests to authorities. If you have nothing to hide and you're just a gun collecting person, you have nothing to hide, right? Send written requests to authorities. 2-week waiting period. If somebody wants to, kill someone or kill a whole bunch of people, maybe give them a break. They shouldn't be able to obtain a gun within that same day or a couple of days. Let them simmer down. They might have a change of heart. 2 weeks, I think, is good. Strict open carry. Don't just open and carry just for the hell of it. Like, no. Strict open carry. Justification for ownership. If you can't justify the reason why you want to obtain something that can easily take people's lives, then you don't need a gun. If you're that incompetent and can't formulate a reason why for you to own a gun that can easily take somebody's life, you don't need it. I don't care. If you're not intellectually inclined to do that, to verbally or write down the reason why you want a gun, you don't need one. I'm sorry, don't care. Don't care. Have a clean record. If you have a clean record, if you're irresponsible with your actions, you do not need a firearm. That's simple. Why are we pretending like it's your human right to own a gun? It is not. It is a luxury. And if you're not responsible as an adult with other areas of your life, then guess what? You don't need a gun. You don't need a gun. You need a job and a second job if you got too much time on your hands. Gun education, proper training, respect guns, unloaded when used, when not in use. I mean, it's just really simple things, but people are too simple-minded. This is a simple understanding that needs to be resolved. But we got too many simple-minded people who are in the way. But if I'm wrong, if you think anything that I said is wrong, don't critique anything else. I don't care about that. If you think anything that I said is wrong, step up in the comments. Let's have that conversation.
Thank you for listening, and don't forget to join the conversation by subscribing. Make sure to tune in next time, and like always, power to you, power to me, power to the people, power to the pod.